What's up, everybody? It's Felix, Fldfishing. It's February. It sucks. It's cold out. It's hard to fish in Jersey. Everything's frozen. If not frozen, very cold. And open water, pretty much non-existent except for the river. And even then, you got icebergs floating down. But today, we're gonna sit here and discuss jigs and how to use them and the different kinds of jigs and different techniques, burning them back, swim jigs, you know, just a typical bass fishing. We're not going to talk about saltwater jig fishing. That'll be another video at another time, probably when it's nicer out and we could actually, you know, go and show you how it's done, catching them doormats. Me and Justin, maybe Matt and Ryan, we'll see. Well, anyways, today we're going to talk about the best practices in the gear and maybe what knots to use when fishing with these suckers. Some techniques and tips, perhaps. It's hard to articulate because we're stuck inside because it's 32 degrees outside and the wind sucks. And I don't really feel like throwing to ice. So we're just gonna sit here and talk about it. Okay, we're gonna talk about the jigs and how we're gonna use them. So you can just tie this on and throw it out there and retrieve it, but I'm gonna suggest against that. I'm gonna actually suggest that you get yourself a trailer, like a bug. This is the D-bomb from Missile Baits, and I'm gonna show you how to rig this up on this football head jig. But first, you gotta take a piece off because it's probably too long. Most of these, you know, that just doesn't work. So we're gonna go to the overhead view and I'm gonna talk you through this. So wait. All right, so now we're gonna talk about hooking up rigging this jig with this swim bait, with this creature bait. I have this yellow mat down so that way it adds a little contrast, makes it easier for you guys to see at home. And this started. So first of all, I don't have all my tools with me. Justin, can you hand me my skizzers? Never mind, I got it. All right. So first tip of the day is a lot of people, including myself, like to trim the skirt of the jig so it's not too long. Like this might be too long. I think it's too long. In my opinion, it's too long. I'm gonna trim it just a little bit closer to the hook, and you'll see why that's why we do that in a moment. Oh man, I'm gonna make a mess here. I don't care. All right, next thing we're gonna do is, as you can see, this creature is a little bit too long for this jig, so I'm gonna cut it back. Probably gonna take, if I'm out in the field, I'm probably gonna use my teeth, but in here, I'm gonna just use these scissors because I got them right here. I'll cut the nose off of the this bug, the D-bug. Right? Is that what it's called? D-bug. D-bomb by Missile Baits. I'll pull that out of there. All right. I'm gonna move this brush guard, this weed guard out of the way, and then I'm going to try to get it in the center here. I'm going to thread this through, bend it. Oh, that's not ready yet. And you're just gonna have the hook pop out towards the end of the body there. Push this all the way up. And now you got yourself a pretty good presentation there. Let's get this out of the way. Oh, shh, Samson. It's okay, just the neighbor. All right, so what you really want here is you want to present this to make it look like some kind of bait that the bass is going to want to attack. And by putting this bug here on here, or this creature bait, with the skirt, when it zips through the water, look, just look how that skirt kind of pops out. Oh yeah, dropping stuff. Looking real good, Felix. All right. And it actually pushes the skirt out a little bit and gives it a bigger profile. So when it's going through the water, it looks like either a craw or shad or some kind of forage that the bass are going to want to eat. Doesn't that look juicy? That looks juicy. If I was a fish, I'd eat that. So what's also cool about this is these weed guards. You can fan them out a little bit, right? I like to fan them out, so get this nice big presentation. So we're going to switch back to the other view and talk about how to fish this back. So, well, before we do that, let's talk about, there's also other baits you can put, other plastics you can put on here. It doesn't always have to be a bug or a creature. It could be a swim bait, maybe Kitech or whatever have you, a paddle tail. See if I have any in here. Whoop. See what I got. Oh, the bucktail. I don't know why that's there. Senkos. You do a lizard bait. Went from Larry the lizard guy. Oh, more Senkos, more Senkos. All right, I don't have any swim baits in here, but oh, you know what? This is a chatter bait, but it's the same concept. You put the swim bait on the end. This one, I was using the last bit of life of this swim bait because it's pretty beat. But you would just, again, just loop it on there. Same deal. I like to have a little bit longer of a tail after the hook, so that way you get more action underwater, draw more attention. You want to make sure that your swim bait or your bug or your creature, your trailer matches your jig. You wouldn't want to put a black and blue or peanut butter and jelly on a white jig, or you want to put a black and blue on a, on one of these guys, PB&J. But you could if you had to, if you had no other choice, but I would try to avoid that. I would always try to match so the presentation looks good. Fish can actually see colors and they have really good vision. So, all right, we're gonna go right back to the other view in 3, 2, 1. So a couple different ways to retrieve the jig is, well, you're gonna cast it out there and you're gonna lift your rod tip, almost actually similar to how you fish a Senko. You would lift your rod tip up and then lower it, retrieve or reel in the slack and repeat. You wanna do this all the way back. You don't wanna use your rod, you don't wanna use your reel to retrieve back the bait. In this method, you want the rod to do all the work. The second method would be dragging it across the bottom. Similar to raising it and then releasing it, except more of a sideways angle, I would believe, because you want to keep the bait on the bottom. You want it to kick up silt, you want it to draw attention, you want the creature bait to have a ton of action and and possibly entice a strike. The third way would be to swim it back, and that's probably the only time I would say that you would use it in conjunction with your reel and just reel it back. Burn it back at whatever desired speed. Creature bait's gonna create a bunch of action, and the skirt's gonna create a profile of maybe some shad or whatever forage is out there. Well, that's all I got for you today. Hopefully this helped. Jigging 101. Basically talked about how to retrieve the jig, how to rig it up. We didn't go into how to put it on the line or the knots to use. I use a polymer knot most of the time with these. I think that'll be, you know what, yeah, I'll make that another video on how to do knots and the different knots for different applications, and maybe what knot is best for fluoro versus mono versus braid, or maybe we'll go over how to make a fluoro leader or mono leader onto your braid line with like an Albright knot or whatever have you. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. That's a whole nother video, man. You do plenty of knots. All right, so I'm at Fldfishing. Stay warm, stay safe. Tight lines, deuces.